got this.
Yeah. No, you don't have to go, yeah, you can punch all of them. Yeah.
Layovers.
Yeah, so it's the only one I could get, is nonstop.
Let me call, I have to call you back after the meeting, everybody's trying to file in.
Okay.
So I figured
And where's that, out of Albany or? Yeah.
and then straight my trucks in
No,
Pawling, one up and
not
one
just the
down.
board right now at this point. Yeah.
Hey, Lou.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Well,
Yeah. How are you? Yeah, okay, well, I'll call you. Yeah, you're right. Sneeze and go off on them.
here.
Yeah. I'll call you after the meeting, let you know what's going on. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
It's like Hillside Creek against the tape. Really have to give me, keep the pressure off.
What's going on? Good, how are you?
Oh.
Not doing any paperwork, dragging you outside.
What, you ran out of plates?
Yeah. Well, I'm just giving it a whirl. We'll see how long it goes, you know?
I thought he said plates, and I realized what he said. All of a sudden, it dawned on me, I had the answer. Yeah. All of a sudden, it dawned on me that I had the one. Oh!
You gotta give us that clock.
No, because.
Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Thought the mayor was gonna buy a new clock. Oh, mine just came in.
If you are the
Thanks, John.
press star now.
Who does the lights?
Please enter your.
The bathroom, one of the bathrooms.
Thank you. You are the only participant in the
Gee.
conference.
Who does the lights, John?
Well, John, I'm sure does, because it's
Check Jennifer.
Jim.
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 Oh, boy.
Whoever's not here, you blame.
We were pretty good at passing the buck.
Yes, I see that.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Tom.
How you feel, Tom?
Not 100%, much better, thank you, but still, this is going on day 6 with this flu, and still don't feel upset.
Wow.
Thank you. I never can get this right, though, I have to, it annoys me. Once it's done, I don't see it. No. Oh, I like it.
It was a pretty, I can't.
No, I like
Oh, I like
turtlenecks.
it. Actually, it's time to get them out.
You're dicky. He has this one that he wears for, is it when you're marching the parade.
Oh,
It's a
that
little-
was,
That's like an
it's like an apron
ascot,
thing,
isn't it?
that's Lou's fault.
It's what?
Poor Lou.
I missed
He's
this.
blaming you for something.
Oh, the ascot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it was an ascot. We were calling it something else.
That's the proper
Feels
name.
lousy with the
Ascot is.
whiskers though,
You're
right?
dicky too.
Oh,
No.
this doesn't-
Yes.
That's
no,
a
once
different,
they get
really?
past a
Yes,
certain
I
No,
point-
that's different.
Is
I
it, it's
swear
like
to
tried for a
God.
while,
What'd you call it?
The whiskers
Dicky.
just drove me
A
crazy.
dicky.
Yeah, no, you
Oh,
gotta
that's the
get
one that goes
past
all
the
around.
first-
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
that's different.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
why? I thought the one that he had went
Ascot's
all
just
the
in
way.
the
And
front.
it's,
Oh, it doesn't connect.
No.
I told you.
Oh, gotcha.
I think he's like a turtleneck that you cut the
Yeah,
shirt off
Right,
of.
exactly.
It's just like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
Let's not cut the necks off turtles.
No.
Let's not even talk about that.
No.
Oh, gosh, no.
Bad.
Sorry, Dan.
It just gives me the,
Yeah.
jerkiness.
Oh, boy.
So,
There was a big police chase today. Jerry, did you hear about that down in Brewster? I know something off of,
I went by the dam
I wanna
this
say
morning.
84, 684.
Yep.
They were like, they got to 130 miles an hour chasing some guy.
This was about
I don't know if
Oh,
this one or
okay.
not, I'm
All
assuming
right.
they did.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's this afternoon.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's coming over?
Why,
I was like,
what,
that's
why
really
would,
interesting.
what
You
would bring that
work and
water?
just kept flying by
so-
you
What
and
happened?
jeez.
We'll get the, how about tomorrow?
That's what you're trying to.
No, but that's
I
a
mean, I think
deer.
what I'm.
That was
Oh,
at
yeah, you showed me
8:30
that this morning.
But I went back after,
Oh.
They probably said in the article, but didn't mention it.
Oh,
isn't that amazing?
nice.
But how,
Let's see.
why would that happen?
I can tell you in just a second. Thank you. So that's this morning,
Oh, nice.
right? But look at that, when do you see this?
Oh, man.
What, I'm sorry?
So we'll see the difference pretty quickly, you know?
Yeah, I think so. So
He
this
said it's
is
gonna be
a
about
weir.
2,300,
So
but
what
he
happens is you
estimated.
got, you know, what, a
That's what he was
100 acre
talking about
lake
in
out
his
there.
presentation.
So as water's coming in,
He was
it's
talking about
filling
that
up.
agreement,
Right.
and that agreement was just for the village.
In the morning, it was probably going over the weir about that far,
Yeah,
and that's controlling
okay.
We have
influence.
14.
By afternoon, you got about
He
an
only
inch
had
of water
12
above
on
the
his
weir.
list.
And it's right, just enough to make it
So
look
the
like
two of them
a
are
huge
like new
waterfall.
ones, just
But
the-
that's not a
Not
trickle
worried
amount
about
of
that.
water. right?
Yeah, we know.
I'm guessing that's
A lot of
100,
gallons,
100,
Oh, hi,
200 gallons.
Dave.
Yeah,
It's,
Tom
yeah, it's pretty
Holland.
impressive.
yeah, no, that is, actually, in a short period of
One
time.
minute.
Yeah, but it first started trickling over on Saturday. Friday, there was no trickle over. By Saturday, Jeff was here.
See,
Jeff, he was doing the work.
Now it's out.
Just the tiniest.
Yeah, yeah, good luck with that.
And then.
That's a
This
lifetime.
morning, I don't know if did anybody look
2
at it on
years, I
Sunday,
think.
but
Oh, stop.
that's what it looks like today.
That's interesting.
It is. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our December 19th, 2022 Village Board meeting. Can you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Why does it have to be?
Because Tom
Because he
hung
hung
up.
up. Can we turn the volume down?
No, no,
Is that
no.
on?
It won't go down. When I hit mute, it doesn't work. It mutes them hearing from us. It doesn't put on hold. Yeah,
All right. Okay, so can I have a motion to open the public hearing for the proposed local law 11?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
okay, that's good.
Do we have any comments or concerns? Okay. Hearing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. A second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, do I have a motion to approve minutes from October 3rd and October 17th and November 7th?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, does anybody have any questions regarding local law 11?
No, I think it's
Everybody's okay?
Executive summary was provided and the red line drafts,
Yes.
16
Yeah.
changes,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Covered a lot of territory.
okay. I mean, it's all incorporating
Not
the
changing
the
our
requirements.
procedures or anything that we had
Right,
had
it's
put
just
in place,
the-
just adding things that the state required. and
Right,
Adding a bunch of code references and things like that, so.
right. All right, well, with that then, can I get a motion to adopt local law 11?
so moved.
Oh, second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now we gotta shift. Dan is up for a presentation.
I'm trying to.
John?
Yep.
Do you have this phone?
Maybe we should have been close here.
Because I
Maybe
know
we
that
should have
was
just
so
hopped
annoying.
seats. Now you got a blank seat there.
All right, this is,
That's okay, John, you're good with it.
oh,
Yeah, why don't you just put it down, John?
Thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com.
Oh, we gotta get the
Yeah,
lights.
Alan again.
No, it might be bright enough for
Enter your
you.
access code followed. If you are the host, press star. Please enter your PIN. Thank you. You are the only.
Do you think I know?
participant in the conference.
We were hoping he knows how good he
Okay.
knows.
Do your thing. So, let me get the lights. Can you guys
Okay,
see it all
right.
right?
Let me turn one
Can you
off.
see this?
Maybe
or-
if I just turn one off.
I mean, that's what
it might
it's
make a
gonna
little
look like without.
I'm okay with it.
Can you see it, Lou?
Oops.
Yeah. So, thank you for the opportunity to present,
Oops, the other way. There you go.
That's better.
Perfect. Good.
to present to the board thoughts on water rates moving forward. Christine and Jeff Smith and my staff and I have been working on this for quite a while. And this presentation represents our recommendation to where we think it would be appropriate to go. The board last acted on water rates just before COVID in 2019, but they were never implemented. So I'm not exactly sure when the last time a rate increase actually went into effect, but it's about 4 or 5 years ago, at least. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about concepts associated with financing water supplies, a little bit about water budgets and how budgets work, and how the funds work with respect to the water fund, separate and distinct from other village funds. And then a comparison of what the current water rates generate with what we're proposing as a future rate structure. The fundamental concept here is that water funds expenses and revenue are separate from other village funds expenses and revenue. With the concept that
Do you want to call him on your phone? Yeah. Sorry, Dan.
no, that's
Sorry.
okay. No?
I don't have his cell phone number.
I don't
I have it, but do you want me to just call him?
Yeah, if you
Or
have him on
just,
speaker.
or give the number so she can call him, so he's on that
I
thing.
can do this too, depending on what you want me to do. Sorry, Dan.
We ruined your rhythm. You had a rhythm going.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have a rhythm
Hey,
going,
Tom, is this
snoring
better?
later.
Can you hear?
Can you hear us?
There you go.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, but barely.
Put the,
Well,
oh, I
Any
don't know.
better? No?
it should be.
All right, I hear you.
Ooh,
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I am.
So the
Yes,
underlying principles is those who
Yes, I
benefit
can.
should pay.
Yeah.
And that's, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as this presentation goes on. So you gotta keep the money separate, and those who benefit need to pay the
Yes,
freight.
you're good.
Okay.
Periodically, the village, or annually, the village reviews water monetary needs and sets a budget. And the budget is established for both capital funds, those to pay down debt, and operation funds, those, I call it keep the lights on. But it's all of the charges and costs against the system, like electricity, power to run the pumps, people to take samples and comply with Part 5. And so it sets a budget once a year, expenses are paid and revenue is collected. The village has a separate water fund, not commingled with other funds. And if you made a slight error in your budgeting and charged a little bit too much in a year, then excess money would go into the water fund. Conversely, if you had not enough money to cover expenses, you could take water from the water, or money from the water fund to pay those expenses and balance the budget. What it looks like here, your O&M budget is about $320,000 a year for the last couple of years. There is a small capital repayment outstanding that's principally for the pipe that you put in Charles Street a few years ago. I think it was a 5-year note and roughly $40,000 a year to pay that off. But you can see from this chart, in 2023, we expect the capital requirements to go up significantly because we've closed with EFC this month, and you will be owing EFC money for the water fund that you borrowed to build the Unshide project. And so you see that going up from $40,000 a year to $125,000. Currently, your current system is generating about $350,000 a year. And so if you add up the capital money that you're paying plus the operations money, you're at a that's $360,000. You're at a deficit of about $10,000, which would come from the water fund. As time goes on, if you didn't change the rate structure, that gets very significant, and in fact, will very soon completely deplete the water fund of surplus. The many systems, and the system we're going to recommend to you, differentiates from capital charges or money to pay for capital charges and money to pay for operations. The way we like to see it is you set a water rate that is dollars per 1,000 gallons sold to pay for all of the operational expenses, and then separately have another revenue source to pay down the capital. And the reason we like to have the two-part system is if everybody goes to Florida, which I recommend, in the winter, then you wouldn't be selling any water. Everybody would be enjoying the sun in Florida. But you still have to pay for the capital. The bank wants its money when it needs its money. So we like to bifurcate the revenue stream into a capital component and an operational component. The current rate structure is strictly on sale of water. There is no capital component on the water side. So many supplies. Here's a flat rate right now. Everybody pays the same amount whether you're for water. I'm sorry, that's not right. You currently have a very decidedly declining rate structure, and I'll show you that in a minute on the next slide. The littlest guys pay the most per gallon, and the biggest users currently pay significantly less. We're recommending that you set a flat rate for the first 500,000 gallons of use, which will cover all of the small users, and then beyond 500,000, incrementally lower rate, and then lastly, anybody that uses over 1 million gallons in a quarter would have still a slightly lower rate. With respect to capital, we're calling it a service charge, so that each property would have assigned to it a dollar value that they would pay each quarter, which would provide sufficient money for the capital component of the need. A single-family home, we're recommending a quarterly capital charge of $30. The highest quarterly capital charge for the biggest users would be about $1,500. So this compares those systems, and I can hopefully walk you through this pretty simply. Under the current system, the minimum billed per quarter for any user is 8,000 gallons. And that comes to a rate of, or generates $77.76 from the user getting 8,000 gallons. That equates to a rate of almost $10 per thousand. As you go down on the left-hand side in the green, anybody that uses between 8,000 and 60,000 gallons is charged the original $77 flat, lowest, plus $4.72 a thousand above that. So that generates for, under the current system, a typical bill for a user that uses 12,000 gallons, they would be paying $96 a quarter. As you get bigger, the current rate goes down to $3.73 per thousand, which is less than it costs you to make water. And those bigger users will pay that for the higher use above 60,000. Now, if we look on the yellow part of this, we're recommending a slightly lower minimum use at 5,000, and we're fixed price for that 5,000 gallons of $32.50, which equates to $6.50 per thousand. So those very smallest users go from a $9 plus rate to a $6 plus rate. When you integrate that, the little guy is paying per quarter $77.75, and under the new system, the little guy will be paying $62.50. Similarly, in the next group down, between 5,000 and 500,000, we're recommending a rate of $6.50 per thousand for the use, and each property will be assigned a specific amount per quarter, but it would be for the single-family homes $30, and the largest users would be about $1,500. When you integrate that across the system, that will generate enough money to pay the debt service. And in that case, you can compare on the left-hand side, currently that's $96 at the 12,000 gallons per quarter under the current system, and under the future system, it's going to go up to 108. So about a $3 per month increase over as compared. There are 425 users between the minimum and the 500,000 gallons of use per day, you little guys. And there's 250 users above that line. The bigger users are going to end up paying more under the future system than they paid under the last system, because you can see as the usage goes up, previously the bigger users paid $3.73. We're recommending in that second tranche from 500,000 gallons to 1 million that they pay $5. And then anything over 1 million, we're recommending that they pay $3.50 per thousand. The capital component will not change. I believe you have this in your packet, and if any of these numbers need further explanation from me, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I'll walk you through how these numbers work. So it's just at a high level summary, 425 of your customers are going to see at most a $12 per quarter increase, and the other 250 odd users will see a bigger increase than that, but they're your big users. And they've enjoyed the benefit of exceedingly low rates for a long time at $3.73 per thousand.
Dan, are all the big users commercial users?
No, because there are some, believe it or, well,
Mostly, or?
Mostly, but there
Okay.
are some apartment, that I wouldn't quite
Okay.
term them commercial.
Yeah.
Apartment houses are bigger users. There are a few individual homes out there knocking down 20,000 gallons a quarter.
Mhm.
I don't know where it goes or what they do with it, but some
Mhm.
pretty significant individual users.
Okay.
Again, if they're an individual household, they'll pay the $30 base capital, but they're gonna pay for all of the water they consume at the rate posted. In schools are other big users, yes. And you have 3 public schools and 1 private school. They're big users too. This is just an idea of how this could play out. I mean, this is the first time it's been rolled out to many of you and also to discuss in the public, but we're here making the presentation at the beginning of winter. We need to engage Williamson Law to convert this into a billing program. The idea is that you ultimately accept and adopt. And that billing program would have to be very rigorously tested and compared against the existing system. That could happen in the winter if that timing works for you. There's nothing guaranteed here other than when you're comfortable making decisions. If everything went perfectly, late winter, you might be accepting the recommendations here or making changes to it. And then spring or early summer, you'd be in a position to adopt this into rates for the public. And for spring or early summer would be the first time that it would be used in billing. But again, these are just ideas of steps, nothing's in concrete there with respect to how soon or how late you actually make those decisions.
Again, if the big users implement a real conservation program, you know, if they're gonna be kind of hurting with the new rates, well, how will that affect our income stream down the road? Obviously, it's gonna bring in less revenue.
The way it's laid out right
Yeah.
now, there's a slight surplus on the revenue side
Okay.
than what you need.
Okay,
So
so
there can be
there's
some
a cushion in
adjustments.
there.
Yes.
Okay.
And, you know, we have to, we've got enough in this to cover all of Umshide and
Mhm.
some of the bonding that you're gonna do for
Mhm.
Lower Baxter, but there might be an adjustment needed once we have the final numbers for Lower Baxter. That'll be about a year and a half from now.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it's flex, and you can do this anytime. There's no
Yeah.
statutory limit or
Well,
timing.
The fact is that we have to do something.
That's
And-
that green slide. You're gonna go broke if you don't.
And
do
the other
something.
part of the equation is the water that we are now tapped into is absolutely phenomenal.
It's very good. I can.
Oh, he's gonna talk about that.
You want me to jump into that now since
No,
we're?
let's
Okay.
stick with the
But
agenda.
this, if you don't change,
Mhm.
there's not enough money to do what you
Mhm.
gotta do. I mean, there is a timeline here to make the change, and we're recommending that you do it not too long into 2023.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank
just
you.
a question as far as with Williamson's Water Program,
Yes.
the billing system, where are we on that? Is that
Yeah, we've
budgeted?
talked, is the money here to be able to pay
Yeah.
them to do it? Yeah, it's not terribly expensive. I don't remember what the number is. We started talking to them last June and through the summer. We put everything on hold as this didn't quite come to fruition as quickly as we thought. We talked to them about a month ago, and we will gear up and actually ask them to start programming pretty soon.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you,
Thank you,
Dave.
No, it didn't want you, then I wouldn't have been on the seat. All right, Dave, update on parking?
Yes, so, the town is now engaged in finalizing their arrangements with, they've, as you know, they've entered into the agreement with Allpay, the credit card company, and the court is now involved in trying to coordinate the necessary banking information to get that hooked up. And the tickets and the equipment have been ordered, and we expect to get it shortly after the new year. So, we should be in a position to get everything up and running in January, maybe, hopefully soon, in early January, mid-January.
Okay, anybody have any questions regarding that?
No?
Thank you, Dave. I guess you're up again for a discussion on the Upper Reservoir properties.
So, the village has received multiple offers on 85 Tracy Road, which is the property that has the pond on it. There were a number at 170, 180. The highest offer was 190. On the other property, there's been one offer. It's the adjoining property owner, George Apap, and he's at 150. So there was some negotiations that were conducted, and that ended up with the price of the one with the water on it going up about 20,000 from what was originally offered, and no change in the other one. So at this time, the board could entertain a resolution to approve the purchase, subject to a contract of sale being entered into in a form acceptable to the board. So actually, I have a resolution I'm just gonna.
Steve, what would be the net amount that we get after commissions are paid?
Good question, John. Yeah. So 5% of, so $9,500 would come off of the.
It's a 5% deal, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be a little less. It would, on the other one, it would be 7,500.
Okay.
So I do have a proposed resolution.
Yes.
Just give me a second.
Does anybody have any questions
Yeah, sorry.
regarding this sale?
No, I think,
Jerry?
Yeah, I just have concerns about selling property, and we're just not gonna get it back again. I know we're sure we're never gonna be able to use these wells again, correct? The property that's up there for water?
You'll always be able to use the wells. You'll
No,
never
no,
be
I
able
meant,
to-
I meant,
reservoirs.
I meant the reservoirs, I'm sorry.
You'll never be able to use them. And if you tried, you'd have to cough up another $8 million to treat it.
For the filtration and all.
Yeah.
Besides what you'd have to cough up to
and
establish
they've
the
been
reservoir.
offline for 40 years. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, I checked with the state health department. It's not even listed as a source of supply anymore. It is, in my view, it's virtually worthless as a source of water supply. But obviously, it has economic value here.
Tom, did you have any questions or concerns regarding the sale of the properties?
If you didn't hear, I guess no, I was waiting for him. Well, so everyone's received the resolution, so if that's acceptable, the vote can be taken on that.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
I make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay, no further questions or concerns? Okay,
Jerry?
Yes. Did you have questions?
No, I have no questions. I agree with Dan, with the surface water drinking act resolutions of the 80s. They're probably kind of useless.
okay, thank you. All right, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. All right. Dave, you're up again,
Appeal.
escrow fees?
So, Main Corners Property, the owner of 146 East Main Street, has appealed the professional fees that the planning board is requiring them to reimburse in connection with their application for site plan approval. There's a process under local law number 3 to appeal any setting of the fees or charging of the fees by the planning board. It's done by the planning board chair, and that is required to be resolved within a 30-day period. They filed, and the reason for the tight time frame is to avoid, unfairness to an applicant who is, wanting to process an application but wants to move it forward, not be delayed. So it's a balancing. So they filed their appeal on December 5th. So that would mean that absent an extension of time, which is possible, it would have to be done by January 4th. So there's a process to be followed, and you know, that would be, it would be an appeal that would go before the village board. You're not precluded from involving someone else to help with that, so if.
So we could go out for a third-party person to hear this, so that it's not the village board handling this?
Well, so you would actually be the final decision maker on it.
Okay.
But you know, typically a hearing officer, I would call it a special counsel and hearing officer to both advise the board and to, you know, handle the coordination of the hearing, the scheduling, and the manner in which the hearing is gonna be conducted, which is fully within the board's power under Village Law 4-412. So I think that would be a prudent thing to do, and if you saw fit, and because of the timing of this, I think it would be prudent to authorize the mayor to do what's necessary to get somebody on board. Ultimately, the person appointed, because it's a council, would be approved by the board on or before the date of the appeal. So if the appeal ends up happening, you know, early in January, you would do it that night. If it gets delayed, you could do it at the next meeting. So that would be, if you wanted to entertain that resolution, I can give you some language on that. So, if you want to discuss it.
While he's looking for language, what is everybody's feelings on this?
So as far as the hearing, it would be a one-time hearing where they'd be heard?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, what I should have said is that the purpose of the hearing, the decision to be made is whether.
Go ahead.
Whether or not the fees are reasonable and necessary. That's the criteria. There's a number of factors that are required to be considered in making that determination. So it's something that, you know, someone who's, you know, former judge or somebody who's dealt with these kind of issues before, I think would be a good person to consider. So.
And
it's the village board it's not the planning board that.
No, because you have the audit, you know, you have the power of audit, and it's really in connection with that power that this is happening. So it's you know, yeah, so it is within the village board's jurisdiction, and that's what the statute says, so.
Okay.
Jerry?
so I'm just not sure, I mean, it looks like it needs to be done by January 5th.
Unless it's extended. I mean, if it's, you know, and it's possible that, given the holidays, they may want to extend it for a week or two, but if they, you know, if they want to have it, we'll have it. You know, it's good, it may have to be done quickly, and, you know, it shouldn't be that involved. It's a question of just, you know, people presenting their evidence and, you know, why they think it's reasonable and not reasonable, you know, survey data and the like that's been gathered. My understanding is that the planning board chair has done quite a bit of work in determining, you know, reasonable and necessary fees in other communities, and so that would be kind of what would be presented, and any other, you know, issues about how what the basis for the fees was, and, you know, what was going on, and the nature of the project and the like.
So it's their decision to whether or not the time gets extended?
Yeah, right, I mean,
Okay.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
We don't wanna mess around with that, so.
It's not gonna be too costly, right, to get the.
Yeah, what would the amount be?
I would recommend that you authorize $2,500. I mean, for the, you know, that, I think that's a reasonable expectation. Hopefully it'll be less.
Okay.
You know, but, you know, I think
So
rather
we
than
could
having to go
pass
back and.
a resolution going up
Yeah,
to.
well, yeah, the resolution would be to approve the appointment by the mayor of an attorney who does not currently represent the village to serve as special counsel and hearing officer in connection with the appeal by Main Corners Properties of the professional fees of the village of Pawling, and that Main Corners Properties is being required to reimburse relating to its application to the planning board for site plan approval at 146 East Main Street. And that authority of the hearing officer and special counsel would include coordinating the scheduling of the hearing with respect to the appeal, attending the hearing, providing legal advice to the board with respect to such appeal, making recommendations to the board with respect to the conduct of such appeal, including the presentation of evidence, and with respect to the board's decision on such appeal, and to take such further actions related to that appeal as may be authorized by the mayor or the board. And the board would authorize the payment of fees to the hearing officer of up to $2,500, and the mayor would be authorized and empowered to identify and appoint such hearing officer that the mayor deems to have suitable qualifications with final approval of such appointment to be voted on by the board on or before the date of the appeal. And the final decision on such appeal would be made by the board in accord with local law number 3 of 2022. That's, I guess that could be a form of motion if you want to.
So I would make a motion that we move forward and authorize the mayor to appoint someone to act as the,
Special counsel and hearing
Yes.
officer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second that.
So,
all in favor?
and we're capping it at,
At
or 2,500, up to
2,500.
2,500.
And if at all possible, our meeting schedule for January is the 17th or the 3rd. The 3rd, it's not, we're not gonna be able to convene by the 3rd.
Is it, there is a meeting on the 3rd, you said? or-
There is a meeting on the 3rd.
Well, we could, I mean, you mean, that would be possible, certainly.
To do it at that meeting?
Sure, absolutely.
So you think we can hire somebody to
Absolutely.
hear this and then come to us for the 3rd?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's what we
I'd
should
like to do
plan
it
on.
as soon as possible for
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Let's get it done.
Okay.
It's, you know, yeah.
All right, so we have a motion.
I second it.
You seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, Dave, you're up
Okay,
again.
so the next one is also related to Main Corners properties, and this is the resolution that was adopted by the planning board in November to rescind the negative declaration that had been issued to the 146 folks in October of 2020, I believe it was. And so it's coming, this is coming to the, you know, this has been considered by both the planning board and the ZBA, which are obviously delegated the functions relating to these kinds of things, these applications, environmental considerations. The village is being provided notice because it's got the water and the sewer aspect of this, and technically some approvals required related to hooking up and the like. So, you know, in my opinion, this is not something that you need to be going through a de novo review of what's been done by the planning board. But you've gotten the notice, and you have until December 21st, Wednesday, to make any comments that you might want to make to the planning board, either negative or positive. So if there's anything negative you wanted to say, you could say it, but if you're in favor of what they're doing, you could also say that. And like I said, I don't think it's necessary for the board, again, which has delegated its authority to the planning board and ZBA to, you know, do their own evaluation under seeker, so.
And they've determined that it's.
Well, so both, I'm sorry, so the planning board obviously made the determination, I should have said that after the 30-day period, they're required to determine whether their decision is the same. So that's how the statute reads. It's really weird, but that is, you know, ultimately it's they have to vote on it again after they get comments from
Yeah,
the
so
applicant.
basically to hear from all of the involved agencies, and if they all came back saying, you know.
Correct, which the planning board did, and, you know, we haven't heard from anyone else as far as I know. The planning board hasn't, as far as I know, so. If you were gonna pass a resolution in favor of it, it would just be that you vote to advise the planning board that you're in support of their decision to rescind the negative declaration.
Anybody have any questions regarding that?
No.
Do we want to entertain a motion to support the planning board?
Yeah, I'll make the motion
You
to
make the
support the
motion?
planning board, yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, who's taking point on this constellation?
Well, we've had a number of, you want me?
Go ahead.
A number of discussions involving the electricity supply agreement through a new energy for electricity provided service. And, you know, seeing now that some of the fuel prices are starting to fluctuate a little bit, if we enter into this agreement, we have an advocate to lock us into a lower rate when it becomes available at their recommendation. And and the rate that they're offering is not a great deal less than what we're paying, but it is somewhat less. And it gives us this opportunity to lock in, and I believe that it's
So-
a no-brainer.
So
It's,
how long would the lock be?
we can get out of it anytime we want, but it could be for 5 years, it could be for 10 years.
Can I just clarify, Dan, you don't have to ever lock in, so you could continue with just paying what you're paying with variable rates, or at some point, when the, you know, if the rates go down to a level, you feel like, all right, this is, you know, be like locking into a low interest rate, you know, so you would then, and you would pick the period of time at that point that you wanted to fix your rate. So let's say next month, electricity prices go down by 20%.
Right.
And you said, oh, that's a pretty good rate, let's lock in for a month, or let's lock in for 6 months, or a year, you know, and that way, so, but you choose, you don't have to do that. and,
So,
yeah.
I'm still a little confused as to how this works with the consultant. So he's getting a commission to watch the market or costs, and then if we lock in, then does the commission stop at that point? Because what we're paying for is for him to monitor it. Once we're locked in, we don't need any more monitoring.
You're not paying anything out of, I mean, your
And we're
cost,
using the
this is
service,
baked
it's
into
not-
the,
It's baked into the
It's
rate,
baked
so
into the rate,
he's gonna
so-
continue to,
I don't honestly know how it gets calculated, but,
Like-
you know, yeah.
cause I mean, we already have a Constellation, account for Village. So I'm not, I mean, if we were just to watch it ourselves and lock in if we felt that it got lower,
From my understanding is that we don't have the ability to do that. We can.
I believe we do.
Constellation-
I think it's a timing issue. I think that's as I understand it, what I understood is it would take time to get a lock-in, because then you'd have to go to a company like Constellation
But-
to do that, because the electric
but
company.
he's wanting us to lock into Constellation. We already have an account with Constellation.
Right, but it does not give you this option.
You need a
That's the
broker to
difference.
do that.
So so really, I think what you're really getting for this is that.
Yeah, I'm not really getting what we're getting.
You're getting the ability to quickly adapt to the market. If you see the prices come down, you won't have a lag of, you know, whatever it would take, like what we're going through now, to get this in place. Because you'd have to, this is the process you'd have to go
So that's,
through.
so we lock in, and then what if it dips down even further? Now we're locked in up here, and
Well,
the rate's down here.
That's always, you know, whenever that's just the market. You make that decision, it's a business decision. I think that's where the consultant, he would be helping with that as well. You know, how long, where's the market going? I mean, we're not gonna know. His predictions may or may not be true, but I'm sure they'll be, you know, more likely to be true than ours would be.
I
So,
just, you just said that the rate's not much different than what we're already getting now.
No, the rate that we're gonna get by engaging new energy is better than what we have right now. And
well, it could be.
it is
Oh,
better.
the rate, yeah.
Yeah, the rate
I
that
thought you were
we're
talking about
gonna
the
get
rate that you're locking into.
immediately is gonna be somewhat better than what we're paying. And we have a broker involved, so when the time comes to lock in, or have a recommendation that, you know, now is a good time to lock in, maybe I would recommend that you lock in for the next 7 months, or maybe I'd recommend you lock in for a year at this rate, and then they buy that much electricity at that rate at that time, and that's what your rate is. The last time that, to the best of my knowledge, that Trinity Pawling locked in, they were in a locked-in rate when this market started to go crazy. Our bill went from $7,000 a month or a quarter to $18,000 at the sewer plant. They were locked in, and their bill didn't change a bit until their contract ran out. So, I mean, I think I don't think we can't lose. I mean, the rate's gonna be better to start with.
I would guess I was missing that part, that by,
purchasing.
getting involved with this company, our rate already then goes down.
Yeah, it will go
And then he
down, not
monitors.
significantly, but it is better than what we're paying. And you, by having the broker engaged, this new energy company, and there's lots of companies that do this, and Jeff Smith reached out to us with a number of groups that were at the NICOM conference that were offering this very same service to communities who were signing up for it because of the potential benefits. I mean, and more, I think, the sewer plant, the electrical bills, I mean, it changed the whole face of our budget because
So let me ask you now, right now, we have a NICEAG bill, and for every NICEAG bill, we have a Constellation bill.
we won't have that. We will have all of the Constellation bills will now through.
So we are gonna be with Constellation? I mean, I
Well,
thought we were
no,
having
all
it
of
with
this-
New Energy.
Well, New Energy is gonna broker our arrangement with Constellation. Constellation provides, NICEAG doesn't wanna provide.
I know, but I thought we were gonna be shopping around at the different companies, not just going right to Constellation.
No.
Constellation, yeah, they're not the one that, they basically are providing, they're like a provider of electricity. And once there's a bunch
So
of
it's a bunch of
So like
companies.
now
Bunch of
Jennifer gets
pass-through,
two
yeah.
bills.
Okay.
She'll get one bill on the one side, she'll still get the NICEAG because.
Okay, so it's still two
No,
bills.
but it's only gonna, so now she gets a bill for every
Account.
account. She'll
Yes.
only
Yeah,
get
we have
one,
14 meters.
yeah, so the 14 meters on the
So we
new
get
energy.
14 NICEAG bills.
Right, and one new energy bill,
Constellation.
Constellation. But I mean, but it's through their brokerage, so you will get one bill for the,
For the 14 meters.
for the 14 meters, and you'll still get the NICEAG thing for the other ones. And all you need to do is give the addresses, which I think, I don't know if you've already done that, but,
And what happens to the Constellation accounts we have now?
they will, they'll be
The broker
melded.
will take care of it.
Yes.
And yes, who
they'll
takes
take
care of that?
They will take care of it.
They will.
Yes.
Okay. Jerry?
So roughly, their fees are built into their, like today, NICEAG's rates were actually lower today.
Yeah.
When you went online and looked it up, they had the lowest rate.
Yeah, but the village can't buy, okay,
Well, let me just finish my point.
okay,
So today, NICEAG was actually the lowest.
right.
We're paying roughly $2,300 for the fees for him to broker. Are we gonna save $2,300 over the course
Yes.
of a year?
Yes. That's.
And that is only covering the
How
village.
can you say that?
That's got nothing to do with the sewer. The sewer has, you got at least another 14 meters with the sewer, right?
No, there's 20 something.
20-something.
Yeah.
And the sewer commission, that's a separate contract.
Yes. We're gonna bring this before the sewer commission in
Right, it's just,
January.
we're doing 23 for the village, if we do it, roughly, 2,300. And then he's gonna get the same for the, sewer.
We're not getting any of that. That's all.
No, that's his commission.
That's
I'm
his
saying
commission.
That's his
That's
No,
commission.
but
we're paying.
we're not paying it.
Well, we are.
Well, it's in the rate.
It's in the rate.
I know, but you will,
It's
You
in the
don't feel
rate.
it, but it's in his rate.
yeah.
So,
We're actually gonna be paying less though than we're paying now through this contract.
But then you add the 2,300
No,
and
no,
then
you're
we're
not
paying
adding
more.
that, that's included in the rate. Do you?
No, I think that's right, I think
Yeah.
Dan's right, and again, I.
We're not
I
gonna
haven't-
see,
yeah.
all we're gonna see is the
Well, I'm
electric.
not saying we're not gonna see a bill, I understand that, but the rate, we're not getting the lowest rate because his commission is within our rate.
No,
Yeah, it says it right on his document.
But, well, it doesn't say that the rate is gonna be high, it just says, whatever rate you're getting,
His
you're
commission
getting.
is within the rate
It's
that we're
within
gonna
that rate,
get.
and he had advised, when I talked to him, he said, the rate is slightly lower than what you're paying now. He said it's not material really, is according to what he said, but it's lower. So that, whether, I don't know what, it's very complicated, I mean,
No, I understand.
there's a lot
It
of
does, it fluctuates,
pass-throughs,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and there's certain facilities that are charged by NICEAG, and certain things are charged by Constellation,
and
so.
yeah, I mean, for every, we don't do our own engineering because we aren't capable. We hire an engineer, we hire a lawyer to do our legal stuff, because we, you know, so hiring a broker to broker our electrical, charges and so on, that it tells us that he's capable of making our rates better, and watching this and telling us, advising us when it's a good time to lock in, and when, you know, I don't know, I think it's a good idea.
John, do you have any concerns?
Well, I think we're looking at rates that are probably gonna be coming down right now. The fuel prices are coming down. I think the rates are gonna drop a little bit. I think it's gonna be a continuing trend. I mean, for my own personal businesses, I've looked at some of the companies that were trying to sell me the product, sell me the electricity, and I really haven't found that they really are gonna save me anything. I was not convinced, at least,
I
that
think
they were.
I think on the consumer side, because I did
Yeah.
ask that question, he said that those companies, a small consumer doesn't get,
Yeah.
and this is sort of again, this is what
Yeah.
he said to me, that this is normally done by larger companies, and
Yeah.
kind of what we're
It is,
getting is
Yeah, I
something
mean,
that,
again, I didn't find
Yeah.
any savings in it, and,
I think it's a
you know,
different,
I don't know. I mean, I'm not, if you guys are in favor of it, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not strongly
Well, I
feeling.
think it's certainly worth a shot. We're not gonna lose anything. We can get out of the agreement at any time. It's not.
But we have to be very cautious. We have to kind of monitor things a little bit on our end as well to make sure that we are in fact getting a lower rate. In other words, they may be quoting some rate, but all of a sudden through NICEAG or whatever the NICEAG for
Well,
this
like for
area.
instance, today, NICEAG is
Yeah.
the cheapest.
Yeah. I think we have to be cautious, and we have to do our homework and monitor it then. I'm not opposed to hiring somebody to help us. But I think we have to be very careful and do a little bit of homework on our end as well to
Yeah.
make sure that they're
Well, I
doing
mean,
their job.
part of the encouraging thing for me as well was
Yeah.
that they've done this for the town of Pawling, and they've done it
Yeah.
also for Trinity Pawling. And I know that Trinity Pawling is very,
I mean, that says a lot. I mean,
they're very conscious of
Yeah.
every nickel that that
no,
they
I mean,
spend.
that's a good, it's a good recommendation, getting, their recommendation on it, is very worthwhile. I'm not opposed to it, I'm just
Well,
not.
I'm uneasy.
I don't get warm
I
and
guess I don't-
fuzzies with this
right,
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the length that we're, gonna sign out for if we do?
I guess we make that decision when he tells us, okay, now's the time to lock in. We have the option of 6 months, a year, 1 month, I don't know. I
yeah,
guess
if you
we
haven't-
have to
and if
make
you
that
haven't- I mean, if you
decision.
do it, and you haven't locked in, and you don't wanna do it, you terminate the contract. I mean, it isn't, you're not beholden to the contract. The only thing you'd be beholden to is if you decide to lock in. You
Yeah, if we
can't
lock-
change-
if
If
you
you
look
lock in
for-
for a month or 6 months, you cannot get out of that, and the risk you have is if rates plummet.
And the rates probably are gonna come down, I mean, I think they are
Yeah.
gonna drop.
Yeah, so I don't think he's gonna be telling us, advising us to lock in yet.
Well, let's hope that's the case,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, I kinda feel like, John, I'm not, I'm always a little bit leery
I'm
with this type
lukewarm.
of, I'm lukewarm.
Yeah, I'm
not
lukewarm,
warm and
I'm
fuzzy
not
with it,
opposed
but,
to it, but it's.
I know you put a lot of work into it, and I think it might be worth exploring,
Yeah,
and seeing how it works.
Well, I mean, we have the resolution. I make a motion that we accept it, and
I'll second it.
Okay, any further questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Do we need a roll call, or is just a,
I don't
well,
think
it's
so.
listed that way on that, that's the only reason I asked, okay.
No. All right, can I get a motion to accept the Metro North Treasurer's report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Dan Stone, you're up.
Thank you. We passed a major milestone on Friday on the Umshai project. We received word from the State Health Department that they would allow us, that we'd satisfied all of the certifications necessary to be able to use PW1 and the new underground 3-inch line between PW1 and the Baxter plant. That also allows us to take the overland pipe out of service, and that all happened through the good work of American Pipe and Rooney and H2O and Labella on Saturday. So the new well, PW1 actually went into service Saturday right around noon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was a team, and this has been a complicated, I've done this for almost 52 years now, and this is the most
That's all?
complicated. Yeah, this is the most complicated little water supply I've ever done, and bar none. One of the things that I thought this was gonna happen a couple of weeks ago, it didn't, because at the last minute, the State Health said, geez, you haven't sampled PW1 in 3 years. And how can we allow it to go into service without having brand new results? And I tried to argue it's in the same cone of influence as PW2, that's been pumping regularly. So at least a portion of the water that has gone to PW2 went right past PW1. Why do we have to wait for this other analysis? So that's the bad news. The good news is all of the organic compounds of all of Part 5 are not detected. So it's the most pristine source that you have. Every other source has minute quantities below drinking water standard limits, but minute quantities of one or more organics in them. So it's really gratifying that the source has turned out the way it has. It pumped every day for the last 3 years, 2.5 years, at 100 gallons a minute, when many, many wells in the area have gone dry. And our projections are that the Lower Baxter site will be less subject to drought than the Umscheid site. So once we get Lower Baxter in with an approved rate of about 200 gallons a minute, and Umscheid with an approved rate of about 200 gallons a minute, we'll be able to alternate between those sources to meet today's demands and the demands of the village for many, many decades to come. So.
Speaking of Lower Baxter, I need to do a big shout out and thank you to Labella's hard work in getting us to being a complete application before DEC for getting Lower Baxter up and running. It was at lightning speed, and it's a big deal to get that past DEC with everything that we've been struggling with up until now. To have that come through at such speed like that, that's a big.
The comment period, because once it's complete, you're obligated to notify the public that DEC has determined the application complete. Because when they determine it to be complete means they're ready to issue it. They do all of, they get everything dotted and T's crossed, and then they say, well, it's now complete. The last day of public comment is, I think, the 22nd. And we reached out to Tracy O'Malley at DEC. She says, if we don't get any comments, we'll be issuing the permit very shortly. You know, if any comments do show up, and this was last week, there had been none up to that point. Any comments do show up, of course, we have to address them. But I think it means you're gonna have the permit in hand early January. So,
Dennis, the cast of character is a little different there at DEC now than.
No, I think they're just getting used to the project and what we're
Okay.
trying to do and our need.
I mean, it seems we're making a lot better headway.
I think it's just
All right, that's
better
good.
communication, and
Good.
I think we were successful in letting them know that, you know, we have a serious need here for the residents of this village.
Okay.
and equally important, they believe however much water we get from Lower Baxter, it will be less impactful on the species than however much water we take from Umscheid. So they have,
Yeah.
yeah,
So they have their own
ulterior motive
reasons.
as well,
Yes.
an internal bias to say, let's get this one online, because then
Right.
I can,
Right.
and we're gonna have to deal
And
with
that's
that too
fine.
later.
Yeah.
But their preference is gonna be Lower Baxter as a first source, Umscheid as a backup, which is okay, as long as they let us use it, you know, at some rate all of the time, switching off so we know when we need it, it works. And the systems that we're putting in place are variable frequency drives, so if they tell us pump it at 200, or at 50 gallons a minute, we can dial that in.
Mhm.
So now we're gonna take that pipe, that overland pipe, and we're moving it to Lower Baxter.
It's already
to-
there.
Okay.
He's already
That's-
moved it.
That was done over the weekend.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
He jumped on us.
So, how did, what do they use to cut that? I'm just curious.
You can cut it with anything, I mean, it's plastic. They got big, scissors, they could use a hacksaw. I mean, it's thick, I'd say just plastic. The wool on that pipe's
Yeah, it's
about
thick,
that
it's thick, yeah.
It is rugged pipe.
Yeah.
I mean, it sat on
We
top of
had
the
no
ground
issue
for
with it for 2
2
years,
years.
yeah.
And that's our pipe, correct?
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's,
yeah,
we're
we
gonna
are gonna
reuse
use
it.
That's why we're
Lower
gonna
Baxter.
reuse it.
When we plumb up Lower Baxter, the contract, we'll have the plastic pipe here to get a home run from each of the 4 wells to the treatment plant. And you already authorized and installed the 6-inch line between the future Baxter plant and Grandview. That was one of Rors's contracts. So we don't have to deal with the wetland, or that part is all behind us.
Good.
Great,
Awesome.
thank you
Good.
very much.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything
No,
else to
no,
bring
good.
up before we,
No,
okay,
2023 is looking promising.
yeah?
Yeah.
So can I have a,
It's coming whether it is or isn't.
can I have a motion to close the meeting and go into public comment?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I do have somebody.
Any public comment? Questions, concerns? All right, and I'm gonna say thank you, everyone, have a good night, and
Happy holidays.
happy
Yeah, very
holidays,
good.
Merry Christmas,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.